The history of Indigenous rights struggles is a long and complex one, stretching back centuries to when Indigenous people first encountered the settlers of what is now the United States of America. Indigenous people have faced a long history of colonization, subjugation, and displacement, leading to a history of oppression, exploitation, and marginalization. The history of Indigenous rights struggles is one of resilience, perseverance, and ultimately success in the face of numerous obstacles. Indigenous rights struggles have been waged since the first encounters between Indigenous people and settlers in what is now the United States. In the early days, Indigenous people were forced off their land and subjected to a variety of oppressive policies. The first Indigenous rights movement arose in the 18th century in response to the Indian Trade and Intercourse Act of 1790, which essentially sought to impede Indigenous sovereignty and development. In response, Indigenous people formed various organizations and groups to defend their rights and push for reform. The 19th century saw a number of Indigenous rights struggles, including the Trail of Tears, the Indian Removal Act of 1830, and the Battle of the Little Bighorn. In the 20th century, Indigenous rights struggles were further advanced with the formation of the American Indian movement in 1968 and the occupation of Alcatraz Island in 1969. These struggles continued throughout the 20th century, culminating in the passage of the Indian Civil Rights Act in 1968 and the Indian Self-Determination and Education Assistance Act in 1975. The 21st century has seen a number of successes in Indigenous rights struggles, including the establishment of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples in 2007 and the adoption of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples in 2010. These successes have been built upon the long history of Indigenous rights struggles, which have been waged for centuries by brave and dedicated individuals. Indigenous rights struggles are ongoing, as Indigenous people continue to face challenges to their rights, their land, and their culture. Despite these struggles, Indigenous people have achieved a great deal in terms of rights and recognition. The history of Indigenous rights struggles is a testament to the strength and resilience of Indigenous people and a reminder of the importance of standing up for what is right.